obsession. Love wishes them well and moves on. SJ asked, would you fall in love with a depressed loser twink even if they aren't perfect? Richard said, you mean again? Most likely. SJ said, oh my god, how did that go? Did you ever clean his room? Richard said, I made him clean his room. Then we wrestled and messed it up again. He was surprisingly strong for a depressed loser twink. Like, really strong. Gotta love him. Okay. Camilla asked, Richard Siken, how do I live my life? Knowing that my first love was unrequited, how do I get over that? Richard said, if it was unrequited, it wasn't your first love, it was your first desire. You've got all your loves ahead of you. That sounds pretty great to me. Chinook said, Richard Siken, will I ever gonna be good and worthy enough? Richard replied, even evil people get love, deserve love. Goodness and worth are beside the point. Somebody said, Richard Siken, what if life passes me by and I never do enough? Richard Siken replied, life has more than you need. Think of the grocery store metaphor. You don't need everything. Some stuff is there for other people's needs and tastes. You aren't here to prove anything to anyone. You are here to find your joy. Kay asked, Richard Siken, how to stop feeling like the sky is falling? Richard said, all feelings are valid, but feelings aren't facts. The sky isn't falling. Use accurate criteria. Gather data. Analyze with clarity. Rachel said, Mr. Richard Siken, is discipline a necessary part of an artist's life? Richard replied, without discipline, you are waiting for lightning to strike, and when it does, you are often unprepared. Discipline doesn't need to be strict, severe, or unrelenting. It's a quality of doing the work and paying attention. Someone said, hi, Richard Siken. Can you say something about hope? Something I can cling to? Richard replied, hope is fine, but hope is passive. I don't have hope, I have determination. I don't have belief and wishes, I have a plan of actions. You will be fine. You will be fine more quickly if you take notes and make lists. Amoga asked, Richard Siken, do you think the way to the terrain of true love is through art and creation, or am I deluding myself? Richard said, true love is just a deep, genuine, compassionate feeling that you share with someone. You can get there on any path. You get there by being kind, gracious, and vulnerable. Sorry, that was my brother sneezing. Somebody asked, Richard Siken, am I going to be like this forever? Richard said, even if you want to stay the same, you can't. Another person asked, Richard Siken, how do I fight the urge to give up hope because I don't think I could survive if I did? Richard said, it can be a very bumpy ride. What are you hoping for? That it gets better? You don't have to hope. It's a fact that it gets better. There's proof. All the elders will tell you the same thing. Rachel said, thank you for replying. I've been trying to unlearn my perfectionist tendency exchange.